So Ty Simpson has the quarterback battle on lockdown, it seems. Who else is battling for a starting shot?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. We'll talk about Game Time in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. So we had a scrimmage on Saturday. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. By the way, a lot of views. Appreciate you guys tuning in for that. You can tell it's football season, because a lot more comments, a lot more views, and we appreciate you guys a ton. We really do. Even the ones that disagree with us. We love you all.
That just shows they're listening.
It does. And by the way, I did want to address this. There was one guy who said, Luke, yesterday you mentioned that there was the more you hear about Florida State, the better you feel about this game. And he said, could you elaborate on that? The elaboration is, I've just been checking out some of their stuff, some of their message boards, some of their insider reports. Also did a crossover with the Locked On Seminoles host. And the more I've talked to people, I also have a few Florida State friends. And the more I speak to them, the more I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure this team is going to be a lot better. I mean, I think they're going to be closer to the 2-10 team last year than the 13-2 team or whatever they were the year before, 12-2, whatever they were. So I feel like, or maybe they only lost one game. Did they only lose one game? Yeah,
I think they only lost one game.
13-1.
1 million to 4.
Yeah, they did lose a gazillion to grits, but so that's really where that comes from. It's more just sort of gut feeling, just like, hey, I'm watching some of their highlights. I'm watching some of their practice film, and it just doesn't feel like things are super sharp over there. So that's where that came from. So I just wanted to address that. But Jimmy, let's go back to the scrimmage for Alabama on Saturday. I put Ty Simpson as the face of this particular episode because I think he has this thing on lockdown now. And look, there's some people who are like, of course he's had it on lockdown. It's been on lockdown the whole time. I don't know that it has been, but I do believe Ty has upped his game a ton. And because we have been able to speak to some folks that were in attendance, I mean, again, there's not a lot that you can just, you got to know somebody who knew somebody that went to the scrimmage. But people feel better and better about Ty Simpson on the daily, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. In terms of why it's still a story and like everybody's like, come on, just go ahead and name Ty the starter. This has been a completely legitimate quarterback competition. It has been from the moment last season ended. It has been a competition between Ty Simpson and Austin Mack and Keelan Russell. Now, has it been close? No, but it's still a competition. When Alabama played Mercer last year, that was a competition. Alabama won. It wasn't particularly close, but it was still a competition. They played the game, and that's what's happened at Alabama quarterback. I'm not saying that Ty won by that margin. I'm just saying that I don't think at any point throughout the spring or fall camp that it's really been in question as to who was in the lead. And why is that? Is that not because everybody didn't get a fair chance? No, that's not true at all. It's just because the older kid with the most experience has easily been the best player. You play the quarterback that gives you the best chance to win now. It's not about who's going to be the best player in 2028. It's about who's going to give Alabama the best chance to beat Florida State, and then you go from there. And it's apparent that answer is Ty. I think it's been apparent that it's been Ty going all the way back to spring because, again, I don't think there was ever a day. I never got a report, and, of course, we got to see some things in the spring. I never got any report from any insider or people I talked to inside the program that, boy, Ty's having to fend off so-and-so. It's never been that. And that's a credit to Ty, and it's also indicative of Keelan Russell and Austin Mack's inexperience. Keelan just got there, and Austin Mack, while it is year 3 for him, and it's time for Austin Mack to make a move because it's his year 3, let's always remember that he reclassified. So really this should be his year 2 and not a year 3. And he reclassed, and in my opinion, that tends to set most kids back, in my opinion. But I do think Austin needs to make some sort of a move this year in terms of proving that he can be a starting quarterback at the Power 4 level. I do think early in the season, Luke, that Ty will be the starter and Austin Mack will be the backup. And Keelan, this is a guess on my part. I think they monitor how much he plays. I think they want to keep that red shirt in their pocket for him because that could be something that could pay off down the road for him. Let's remember, because of NIL, playing the quarterback position, staying in school and playing quarterback isn't the same decision it used to be. You can literally make 7 figures. Garrett Nussmeier at LSU, famous conversation in that documentary or whatever, people talking about with Garrett's agent calling Brian Kelly, who happens to be also Brian Kelly's agent, calling him and them discussing that they think Garrett's going to be a 3rd-round pick. Well, he's going to make 3rd-round money at LSU this year. And I mean, so that's what I mean by having 5 years to play in college isn't like it used to be. Now it's like an investment in yourself, whereas it used to be, hey, I need to get out of here so I can go make some money. No, quarterbacks are in the 7-figure business when you're the starting quarterback at an SEC school. So I think they're going to monitor Keelan and not play him in that 5th game until it's obvious that if Ty got hurt, they should go with Keelan. And I don't think that's obvious now. It might be as we progress.
Yeah. But again, we feel like, Ty's, I mean, again, maybe it's unreasonable. Maybe it's just homerism. My confidence in Ty is growing by the minute. So feeling better and better about it. It doesn't mean I don't love Austin Mack and Keelan Russell, by the way. So
I hope people understand that our confidence in Ty, it's strong enough to where it's not going to be shaken based on what happens at Florida State in general. I'm not expecting him to be perfect in Tallahassee. I'm expecting him to look like a talented kid with a very bright future making his first start on the road in a hostile environment. That's what I'm judging him against. Not can he be 19 of 23 for 290 yards and 4 touchdowns. I'm not. That's not the standard I'm holding him to in game 1. This is a road game against a Power 4 football team in a hot, tough environment, and there's going to be snaps he will want back. That's going to happen. You have to accept that going in, but what you hope is that when things go sideways, he course corrects. That's what you want from a young quarterback making his first start. Hey, when it goes sideways, can you recover? And I think he will. But if he doesn't, well, then we'll deal with that when it happens. But it is going to happen in the game, Luke. There will be some things that go wrong because it's football and it's Florida State. It's not UT Chattanooga.
Yeah, I think people need to remember, we think about Tua Tagovailoa coming in so many times his freshman season back in 2017, usually during mop-up duty. And you think about that play he had against Vanderbilt where he did a pirouette and then just hit Devontae Smith for a touchdown, or he hit Henry Ruggs on an absolute dart, a literal dart. And I remember Gary Danielson was like, oh, goodness, that was crazy. But you forget that he also threw a horrible interception for a touchdown against Tennessee. I'm not sure. I think it was that same game. And because that's the famous picture where the Tennessee guy returns it always for a touchdown and then flips off the Alabama fans and they flip him back. I mean, it was anyway.
That's right. It was a pick six. Tua was a great example. Tua and Bryce, the 5th pick in the draft, the 1st pick in the draft. Neither one started as true freshmen. Could they have? Sure, they could have. But it wouldn't have gone great all the time. And that's a good example. Yeah. It wouldn't have been great all the time.
I did want to say this too. Another person pointed out something. I didn't forget it, but I'm glad he brought it up. Drew Warren 7131 said in the comments from yesterday's pod, because we were talking about Daniel Hill being apparently hit for a nice gain or maybe even a touchdown in the scrimmage on a wheel route. And we talked about how, man, we'd love to see more of that. Jam Miller scored on a wheel route against Georgia in the 2023 SEC title game.
Yeah, he did. And he also caught a wheel route last year in the Georgia game, too.
That's right, for another touchdown. That's right.
And what I thought was one of Jalen Milroe's best throws of the year.
100%.
That was an absolute dime. That throw was one of the reasons people will forget because of all that happened with Jalen in November. But on Sunday morning NFL shows, those NFL guys, I remember Rex Ryan, like Wyatt and Milroe, the number one pick. And Rex Ryan, former NFL head coach. It's not exactly an uneducated opinion. Milroe was great that day. That throw to Jay Miller, boy, that was a 10 out of 10. That's what kids say.
That made Rex Ryan so happy he wanted to go give somebody a pedicure. Doesn't he have a foot fetish? It's pretty famous.
I think he does. I think he famously, or maybe infamously does. Boy, that's something. We'll do a whole show on that because I don't get that.
You know what? I swear I forget some of my family members' names. I will never forget Rex Ryan having a foot fetish for some reason. Need to tell everybody about Game Time now. By the way, I will retire the way that I used to say the Game Time app. I liked it, but apparently it was getting on some people's nerves.
Game Time must have liked it. We never got like a cease and desist.
All right. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, y'all, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, Game Time's Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. It's all one word for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, and that's a Jimmy Stein guarantee. God, I was having to concentrate not to do it because I'm so used to doing it. It was like that Seinfeld episode where Jerry had to decide whether he was going to do that voice, la, 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 or still date the girl. Yeah.
Jerry, that voice so played.
But yeah,
it's played.
Another commenter yesterday said, "Why is every time you say Game Time make it sound like he's getting poked in the tuchus?" He used another word, but
well, you are the only person that says tuchus. You and
anyway, so the AP poll comes out today, and we were going to wait and do this pod until after it was out, just because we thought it'd be more, but it's not going to be out till like 11 or 12 or something, so there just wasn't any need in waiting that long. But I do think this is kind of cool. Like the CBS came out with their projected AP top 25. And
isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Let us guess the poll that doesn't really matter, but we're going to guess it anyway.
Let's guess on the thing that doesn't really matter. But you know what?
I haven't seen
it. I read it.
Let me guess the guess. I haven't seen it. I'll guess the guess. 8.
You haven't seen it?
Alabama at 8.
8, correct. Who's 1?
Texas.
Correct. Who's 2?
Ohio State.
And 3?
Penn State.
Correct. God, and then 4, Georgia, 5.
I read a lot about college football.
Yeah. 6, Notre Dame, 7, Oregon, 9, LSU. Mm-hmm. Boy, I am just, I'm going to tell you, we're not going to go off down a rabbit hole here, but LSU, I'm going to keep an eye on this Garrett Nussmeier thing with the patella tendon and also the Osgood Slaughter stuff that he had a surgery on and blah, blah, blah. I'm just telling you, that's got the makings of it's worse than we know.
No, I think that's very, very possible. And that is definitely something to monitor. But I was going to say, I could tell from reading all the social media I do about college football all day long. If you want to divide up some Alabama fans, a political divide is get Alabama fans talking about this LSU team. Because some Alabama fans, including myself, super high on LSU. They could go to the playoff. They could win the playoff. I believe that. Some Alabama fans are like, that's a 6-6 football team. I mean, there is a massive disagreement as to, and personally, my theory as to why Alabama fans are so divided, because Alabama crushed LSU a year ago. Alabama crushed them. Milroe had a National Player of the Week type game. It was in their stadium. Game day was there. Alabama still crushed them. So I think Alabama fans are like, that team's good. Well, there were 12 or 13 other games too. And LSU, not everybody keeps up with the news of the portal. LSU went to work in the portal. And now not all of those kids will work out, but a lot of kids that got are sort of proven players. I would say similar to what Ole Miss did the year before. And I think LSU's going to be really good. But Luke's right. Garrett Nussmeier's knee as we enter the season is one of the more interesting topics in this league.
And again, just want to bring this up about LSU. I thought the SEC numbers guy tweeted out, LSU is 112-15 in night games since 2000. There's no place harder to win than a night game in Death Valley. Argument settled. Hunter Johnson, Alabama legend in his own right, said 7 of those 15 losses are to Alabama. That's crazy. That's bananas.
Alabama, just for whatever reason, and for those younger people don't realize that Alabama had tremendous success in that stadium going all the way back to, I think Luke may know this better than I. I think Alabama, starting in 1969, won every game in Baton Rouge all the way through, I believe, 1997. All
right. Not now. I'm trying to think about 97. 98.
Or 98. 98?
No. 98 was – no, it was 2000, Jimmy. Because 98, I was at that game. 98 is the game where Sean Alexander caught a wheel route for a touchdown. Quincy Jackson had 2 catches, 2 tip ball
touchdowns. Yeah. Okay, so that was 98 Alabama won. So it was 2000.
And Marcus Spencer recovered an onside kick that was like the longest onside kick I've ever seen. It took a monster hop.
That's an amazing Gary-like memory you've got there regarding this.
Well, let me tell you why. Because I was at that game, and I was at that game with a friend who ended up marrying an LSU girl, and I was on a date with one of her friends.
They still married?
No, they're divorced.
Ah.
And she's been divorced a few more times, and he got divorced one more time. And
I
ended up marrying one of their pledge sisters.
Excellent client.
I ended up marrying one of their pledge sisters, and we're divorced. So that game, a lot of memories in the library.
I was so busy for 20 years on my last job.
But I do remember that so well because I went to that game, and it was also when right before we recovered the onside kick. I'm talking about 7-year-old LSU fans were coming up to us and flipping us off.
That's
I'll never forget. I was like, and the parents were like right there, like, yeah, you're not flipping them off hard enough. I was like, are you going to do something? They're like, no, yeah, we're going to do something. We're going to tell them
an entire state full of Tanner Boyles. The entire state is Tanner Boyle.
It was.
And they should have some level of pride in that, by the way, because
I think they do.
Bad News Bear.
Yeah, I think they do.
But no, the point, Alabama won. I think it's true. Every game in Baton Rouge, 1969 through 2000. That's nuts.
It's not. It's also nuts in the sense that if you go back to, we just turned this whole thing into an LSU trip down memory lane. But 96, when Sean Alexander, set the single game record, had 4 touchdowns. If people don't remember this, but I remember where I was watching that game, that LSU scored on the first drive, but it got called back, I think, for holding. They hit that tight end, LaFleur. They hit him for a touchdown and got called back, and then they miss a field goal, and then we shut them out. That's the other thing. I don't know. I'm going to go back and look. How many times LSU been shut out, period, but, I mean, at least of all at home, by anybody but us? I mean, I can remember. It is crazy. It's nuts.
A shocking amount of success in their stadium. And to their credit, they've had quite a bit of success in Bryant-Denny over that period of time. It wasn't like we always won there. They always won. We won in Bryant-Denny. We're a better program than most of the time. But they've had a good success in Bryant-Denny, including two of the biggest games I've ever seen with my own eyeballs in Bryant-Denny, 2011 LSU and 2019 LSU. Those were premier elite LSU teams, and they did beat Alabama Bryant-Denny both games.
Put 2007 LSU in there, because I'm going to tell you something. If we win that game, we had a 7-point lead with like 4 minutes left.
That was a national champion LSU team too.
I know.
They won the whole thing.
So
we're not that good in 2007, Saban's first season, but we gave them a scare.
I still want to say the loudest I've ever heard Bryant-Denny may have been Brody Croyle to pro throw in 2005. But boy, Javi returning that punt is up there. It's up there. I did the wrong little ad thing there. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, so ESPN came out with their preseason All-American team, and it's interesting. For all the people thinking Alabama's going to have this downfall, and there are some that believe that. I mean, if you read some other SEC message boards, they're like, this team's destined for 4 losses. Alabama's got 3 dudes on the first team All-American team for ESPN. Of course, Ryan Williams is one of them. Caden Proctor. Who do you think the other one is?
I think I actually know this. So I'm cheating here. This is something I know because I saw it. It's LT Overton, I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's I wouldn't have guessed it. I wouldn't have guessed it otherwise. I would have guessed Parker Brailsford, by the way.
That's what I would have.
But
they got Jake Slaughter.
From Florida, who's outstanding. We've talked about him on the show, and he's a legit first team All SEC, first team All American guy. LT Overton surprised me as first team All American. That tells me, though, shout out to whoever put that All American team together, because I think you got to do a deeper dive on LT Overton to understand how good he is. Because I think everyone has a tendency to let's look. He's an outside pass rusher. Let's look at the sack number, and you see a sack number, and it's not good. It's not good. But when you do the deeper dive, and you're like, he led the nation in quarterback pressures or something out, or certainly near the top. His win rate on Pro Football Focus is ridiculous. You do a deep dive on LT Overton, you go, it is completely clear this guy's on the cusp of a monster year. But you have to do the deeper dive. So shout out to whoever at ESPN did that. And I like it. And, of course, second team, Parker Brailsford and Deontay Lawson. So 5 Alabama players on first and second team. And we famously say here all the time, and this is a great illustration of it, it's about dudes and about almost nothing else. It's about dudes. And this is a good illustration of Alabama's got some dudes now on this team. And I think people that are forecasting 2025 for Alabama aren't getting past, understandably, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, and Michigan from a season ago. They're not getting past that. I get that. I have a hard time getting past it too. But if it's about dudes, this is going to be a really good football team this year.
Well, and again, the thing that makes you want to throw up in your mouth a little bit is the other 2 All-Americans are TJ Parker and Peter Woods. And I do believe now Peter Woods apparently was sort of set on Clemson for whatever reason. But I do believe Alabama, if they had pursued TJ Parker more, I believe they probably could have gotten
I don't think Alabama ever prioritized.
We didn't even.
I think they saw him. My recollection, and it was Nick Saban, not DeBoer for people. The Saban staff saw him as a tough, schematic fit. Alabama had a certain specialty. I mean, Alabama's got certain positions that have cookie cutter type measurables that fit in each spot. And I think they saw him as, I'm not sure what position he played at Alabama, probably too big to be a jack linebacker and not athletic enough. So he would be a hand on the ground guy. And at Alabama, under the Saban system, the hand on the ground guys are roughly the 300 pounders, 2 guys that they called defensive ends, but Marcel Darius, Jerron Reed, Ashawn Robinson, that's an example of, quote, defensive ends at Alabama. They just saw Parker, I think, is too big and not athletic enough to play linebacker, probably never going to be big enough to play on the interior. The fact is Clemson has positions in a scheme where he's a good fit. and obviously he's dominated. I mean, dominated. He's a great player. I'm happy for him. But I'm with Luke. It hurts my soul a little bit when guys from the state of Alabama have tremendous success in college football playing for someone else. I'm an in-state homer almost more than I am a Alabama Crimson Tide homer, to be honest. I mean, I want the University of Alabama to thrive with tremendous in-state talent. 16 of the 22 starters on the 1992 national championship team are from Alabama. That doesn't mean that I value the Saban national championships less. I don't, but I think it's extra cool when it's 16 of 22 starters from Alabama. You never had that during the Saban era because Saban was able to recruit literally globally.
And again, just a testament as a member of the AHSA radio network, Cam Shanks is second team return man from Arkansas. He played at Prattville. That's somebody that I'd have no problem if he transferred to Alabama. I'd be down for it.
We talked about him, especially his senior year on our show. Did. We talked about him like, boy, and he was a senior year blow up. We talked about, is Alabama done with recruiting? Like, well, there could always be senior year glow ups. Cam Shanks was one of those guys. We talked about him on the show late in his senior year at Prattville going, is this somebody Alabama should be taking?
Yeah. And then there's also Keldrick Falk is a second team. So, I mean, you got Ryan Williams, Cam Shanks, Peter Woods, TJ Parker, and then Keldrick Falk. That's 5 dudes from the state of Alabama that are on the first and second team All-American squads. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to go through and look at it. I don't know that there's another state that would have that many. Maybe Georgia.
It would be unlikely. You would start with Texas, Georgia, and California and Florida. I mean, I think those 4 put out the most players. But the very best players in Alabama compete with anyone. And this state is deeper in talent than I think a lot realize. And I'm always, if anything, encouraging Alabama to take an even, deeper look at the in-state guys first, because I don't like when they go somewhere else and they're great players.
Yeah, I'm with you. Then ESPN also came out with their 10 impact freshmen. Now, they didn't have any Bammers in their top 10, but they said the watch list in alphabetical order, they had Latsier Brooks and Dijon Lee. Now, I don't know. Let me see when this article came out, because maybe they don't know that Lazier. I always say Lazier. It came out today, but maybe they don't know Lazier has been a little banged up. But I do love that they recognize him. Because it would be so easy to pick somebody else from this Alabama class that was a 5-star and say, hey, check out Keelan Russell or whatever. But I do appreciate that they recognize that Lazier Brooks is kind of a thing. Yeah,
and to be an impactful true freshman, it takes 2 things. The first one is immense talent, because it's hard to be an 18-year-old and thrive in the SEC. Immense talent. But the second thing is opportunity. I think Dijon and Lazier, they've got the immense talent thing covered, both of them. I would tell you right now, immense talents, both of them. And in a different world, they would be starting game 1 against Florida State for Alabama, both of them healthy and starting. I think both, from what I've seen and know, are capable of doing that. But the second part of the equation is opportunity. And neither one of them have a lot of opportunity to be starters just based on who's returning and their talent level. It's not like Lazier Brooks has been so good, they're like, have you seen this kid? Put Ryan on the shelf. No, that's not happening. I mean, Ryan and Germ and Zay Horton are not just talented future NFL players. They're upperclassmen talented. Now, I'm counting Ryan as an upperclassman, which is crazy, just because he's played 1 million snaps of college football already. He feels like a veteran, and he really is. But Dijon Lee also has Xavier Brown and Damani in front of him, and those are future NFL players, and they're returning starters. And I think we're going to see a lot of both of them, but they won't be starters. So shout out to ESPN for including them, even though it's unlikely that either will be in a starting role unless there's some level of injury.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.